Hi, this is Richard with another Blender quick tip. This time we're going to be talking about the customizability, if that's a word, of Blender. You can do a lot of different things with Blender to make it set up exactly the way that fits your workflow, and I've seen it set up all different ways. I recommend, if you're just learning Blender, that you don't customize it, because all the tutorials you're going to watch, it's going to be pretty standard across them. The only difference with mine is that I have the node editor set up down here instead of the timeline like you normally have it as a default. That's because in my own workflow, I usually go to the node editor before I go into my timeline. So I just leave this as a node editor on my startup so I don't have to switch it every time I come into it. But you can change the windows. Right here you can click and drag. Down here you can drag this one down to show your console. Here you can drag this over so that you can read more of the text. And it's going to try and show you as much information as possible with the space that you have. You can drag this one up. But what if that's not enough? What if you want to see this in a perfect view from the front while you're manipulating it? Well, you can click these little lines right here and drag it down. Maybe I don't want to do that. Let's click it and drag it back up. You see this arrow on top of it? That means it's going to close that one. Now it's closed. Let's drag it to the left and hide the tool shelf and then drag this one down. Now I've got a little window up here where I can drag this bar down. And I can hit Shift-Z up there, and now it shows my render mode. Well, I've got a completely different color on it for rendering. I can just leave that render mode to see how my changes are going to take effect. And then if I want this one down here to be from the front, I'll hit 1 to go into my perfect perspective from the front, or 7 from the top, or 3. And then I can model in this one, and it'll change over here. And it'll change in all my views. As you can see. Let's not do that to Suzanne. But you can even do more. Look, you see those same lines here. We can take these individual boxes of tools and change them around that way. However we want, we can go in here and change all of this to suit our needs. Even over here, I don't use custom properties very much. Maybe I'll put that at the bottom so that other things are closer to the top. So first I've got preview and then surface, and then volume and displacement. And I use settings a lot. Now it's not hidden when everything else is dropped down because custom properties is at the bottom. You can do things like that as well. And then you can click these buttons to choose what's in each one of these windows. You see where I hid this toolbar? There's a little plus sign. Click that to pop it back up. Maybe I want to change this view to UV image editor so that when I render, my image will pop up here. Now this is just an image. It's not my render view anymore. I can hit 11. Whoop, it won't let me do it if I click the button. And get back into my render view. So there's a lot of different things and ways that you can customize this. If I don't like these, well, I'll just grab this and drag it over. Uh-oh, it's not letting me close it. Why is that? It's because it doesn't know which window I'm wanting to close. So I'll have to close these two first. You see these little lines down here? Drag those down. You see the arrow, it goes away. Grab this, now I can drag it over. You see that arrow there? And it goes away. What if I want Suzanne as my default cube? What if I want 3 lights, 3 lamps in here, a point lamp, and I want it over there on the opposite side as kind of a fill light. And I want my camera to be in closer. And this is how I like, I'm upside down. This is how I like my setup to begin with. And I want to save it this way. I can go up here and I can hit File, Save Startup File. And the next time I come into Blender, it'll be exactly like this. Nothing's going to change. You only want to do this for how you want it set up. Don't create a whole scene in all these models thinking, oh, I'll just save my startup file and start here again. Because then when you're done with that, you'll go to File, New, and it'll load it all back up again. You want to save as little as possible, just the layouts and things, the windows, how you want them. Save it as that startup file. And if you screw up, if you mess up, go up here to File, Load Factory Settings. Loading factory settings sets everything back to as if you just downloaded it. And if you really screw up and that doesn't work, then delete Blender and reload it from blender.org. But I doubt you can screw it up that badly. 100% of the time for me, going to Load Factory Settings fixes things. Or you can just hit Control-U to save startup file. Control-U, Control-U. But we can customize it more than this. What if we go into File and User Preferences? There's this big button here called Themes. In Themes, you can change all of the colors in Blender. We go to 3D View, we don't like that dark gray grid, we want it to be a little bit brighter. We can click that there, or maybe we want it to be red. We'll just make it red like that. Every single thing, and this is why I recommend that you do not customize anything too soon. Learn how to use it in its default mode, and once you know how to do everything and you're pretty confident that you can make any type of object given enough time and you know how to use all the tools, then come in here. Because you don't want to accidentally change something in your theme and not realize it, and then when you learn a new tool, all the colors are different and all the tutorials for it are wrong because you changed it. So even your X and Y axis colors, if you want to change those, you know, I don't know why you would do it this way, but you can. And then you see down here, those have changed. You look at my transform tool, it's changed. You can make it exactly how you want it, with colors, with your windows, with everything. But if this is too much for you, look at all these options for each different way that you would look at things. You can change the colors all over the place. If that's too much for you, here's the basic user interface. If that's too much for you and you want something simpler, then you can go to Install Theme. And where do you get these? Well, here's a good place. It's BlendSwap. They've got some pretty nice themes. I like this spaceship one. And it's a Creative Commons by attribution, so I'm going to say this is by Big Mouse. If you go to BlendSwap, you can find the profile and follow them and look at their other creations. By Big Mouse, this spaceship theme, this is the one that I like. You can click right here. I'm logged in, so I have this download button. I'll just click download, and it'll download it to my downloads folder. It just reminds me of the licensing terms. Now that I've got it, I got to open it up and extract it. And once it's extracted, go back into Blender. Now, we're back in our user preferences. Now we can click this Install Theme button. And you'll see I navigate to my downloads folder, go to where it's extracted, wherever that is. I have this XML file. And I'm going to double click that. And pow, look, I've got this new theme loaded up, ready to go. It looks great. That's a quick and easy way to use different themes that you find on the internet. Just go to Install Theme, and then you can change this however you want. If you liked those two windows like I had, well, there you go. And everything's awesome. So, I hope you saw how customizable Blender is, using those themes to change the colors, using other users' themes that you can just install and have it change immediately, and even changing the window setup, what's in each window, how many windows you have, where they are. One last thing that I want to show you, which is pretty cool. Let's say I am working on my nodes and I want this to be full screen. I've got 2 monitors or 3 monitors, and I'm not just going to stretch Blender across all 3 of them. I'll just hold Shift and I'll left click right here and drag it. Whoops. It gave me a new window. I held Shift and I clicked, and instead of just clicking, creating a new window, which I could do, and it creates that new window inside this actual window, I'll Shift and click and it creates an actual window, which I can then drag onto my second monitor and make full screen so that I have a whole nother area to work on in Blender. I do that a lot when I'm doing really detailed stuff, just so I have more space to spread out. So I hope you found this helpful and that you learned something about how customizable Blender is, and you'll start making it exactly how you want it. But again, I recommend not customizing it until you've learned how to use all the tools, so that if you need to, you can follow through tutorials. And now I'll just hit new. Now I'm back to the way that I like it. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next video.